Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In this second chapter, we will continue our dive into the world of Adalo development and focus on developing a full-fledged app that we can later publish to the Apple Store and Google Play. In this chapter, we will create an app based on the one of the most popular and high things of today, artificial intelligence. This app will offer a variety of OpenAI prompts divided into the categories, allowing the user to combine the power of artificial intelligence and prompt engineering. It's going to be like having a virtual companion that can provide prompts and reliable responses to any question or situation, whether you need assistance with brainstorming ideas, writing a story, or even seeking advice on personal matters. Our app will be there to assist the user every step of the way. I think it's a pretty cool app idea, especially for your first Adalo project. And also the reason why I've chosen an AI-based app is because almost every client these days asks me to implement AI into their apps or build a whole app based on it. So let's get started. First, let's have a look at the Figma file with the prototypes that created especially for this project. I strongly do not recommend starting developing on Adalo without first creating at least low or high fidelity wireframes for your app. And a bit of a theory. Low fidelity wireframes are rough and basic representation of a design idea. They are usually created quickly and with minimal details. Low fidelity wireframes focus on the overall layout, structure, and placement of elements rather than the visual aesthetics. They are often hand-drawn or created using simple digital tools like wireframing software. On the other hand, high-fidelity wireframes are more detailed and refined representation of the design concept. They include more visual elements such as colors, typography, and sometimes even images to closely resemble the final look and feel of the interface. So, the more detailed your prototype is, the easier it will be for you to develop it with Adalo, because you will be able to focus only on development without constantly thinking about the design. Also, having a prototype will allow you to test user flows and refine them if necessary. So, developing a mockup before starting development with Adalo offers an efficient way to save time and resources as well as reduce the risk of errors in the final app. And I highly recommend you not to skip this step. It will save you a lot of time. So, in our case, we have even more than low or high fidelity wireframes. We have a fully ready prototype. It's pretty nice, minimalistic, and trendy design. So let's see what kind of screens we have here. Of course, we have sign up and login screens. We have free onboarding screens which are highlighting the essential app features. We have next paywall screen, home screen, explorer screen with prompts divided into categories, chat screen, screen with saved answers, and settings. So right now, let's go back to Adalo. As you can see, I've already created a new project and we can start building. Right now, Adalo does not support importing the design from Figma or any other design tool, so we have to manually recreate everything from Adalo components. We are going to try to make our Adalo app as much similar as possible to our initial Figma design, and for this we can use one simple trick to make it a little bit easier. We need to export all our screens from Figma as images and then upload them as a background for our Adalo screens. To change the background image of the Adalo screen, you simply need to click on the screen, go to Edit Styles, click on Choose Image, and then choose the image that you want to use, and wait a couple of moments. And now we can start building the app. Let's start from the onboarding screens. Even if it looks a little bit complicated, eventually each screen can be simplified to a bunch of rectangles, ellipses, and text fields. Let's check what are the dimensions of the screens in Figma, and then change the size of our Adalo screens. Perfect. And now let's add a couple of more screens. So now when we have all the screens that we need, we can start building. If you go to Adalo components, you will see that actually it's impossible to build exactly the same design with the pre-built components. And even though the design of the screens may seem a little bit complicated, every part of it can be simplified into a bunch of rectangles, ellipses, and text boxes. So let's start with login and sign up screens. In this case, it makes sense to use a pre-built Adalo form. So let's add a form and see how we can style it to make it look closer to our Figma file. And of course, it's going to be a collection of users. First, we need to work on the input fields and edit the styles. We need to make the padding a little bit bigger, something like this. Also, we want to turn off the background of the input fields, and we need to turn off the labels. Same for the password. And we have a rounding. Let's try to adjust it as well. I remember it was something like 15 or maybe even less. Let's do the same for the button. Let's change the border color on the input fields to white. And placeholder text, let's change to white as well. Okay, I think now it looks more or less the same. And let's also change the text. Maybe the font is a little bit bigger and maybe the padding is a little bit bigger too. And as you can see, the font in the Figma file definitely differs from the default Adalo font, and we will be able to change the font once we upgrade our account. So I'm going to activate a free trial, and in the branding section, change the font to Zine as the name of the font that we used in Figma. Also, let's change brand colors. As you can see, the color of the button has automatically changed to our secondary brand color. Really convenient and helps to save up time. Now, let's create a heading, change the text, change the font of size of the text. It's 24 and bold. Okay, then let's add a text button which will link the screen to sign up screen. I just copied this text field by selecting this component, holding the option and dragging the element to the right place. Okay, let's align this text to the right and check the font size. It's 16 and bold. Okay. Let's check what else we have on the screen. And the last what we need to add is a text component with terms and condition and privacy policy. Let's add a text field and let's copy this text from the Figma. Okay, let's align it to the left and let's make it normal. Later, of course, we will add screens for terms and condition and privacy policy. And actually, it's a really important thing, especially if you are planning to publish your app to Apple Store or Google Play. But yeah, right now, let's leave it like this, and we will be back to this once we will talk about publishing the app to Apple Store and Google Play. So I think now we can already delete the background image and see the result. And as you can see, almost everything disappeared. It's because our background color by default is white and we need to change it to dark purple. And once you've chosen your branding colors in the branding section, you can now quickly access them from this panel. So we created our first screen with all the components that we need. Now let's do the same for the sign up screen, and to make it easier, I will just copy everything from the login screen by pressing Command C and press Command V. And as you can see, it does not look like a perfect match because we have different numbers of input fields on our sign up screen. So let's change it. Here we need to put sign up, and here's login. Also, what do we ask here? We ask the first name, email address, and password. So what do we need right now to add new fields? We need to go to Fields, go to Visible Fields, and add a full name. Perfect. And also let's change the order. Now we can already delete the background image and see the result. And also let's change the bottom text to sign up. As you remember, if you're using a pre-built Adalo form, it's not just ready to use. It already sometimes has some click actions. And what remains to add right now, it's link actions, but we will add it later when we create more screens.
Text links.
So now we need to add actions for our custom text buttons, and let's link this to sign up screen with no transition. And this one, let's link it with the login screen. And once again, we don't need any transition effects.
Choose none as transition.
Actually, I don't want to put the sign up first. I want to put our onboarding screens first, and only after this, I will ask the user to log in or to sign up to the app. Now, let's start working on our onboarding screens. We are going to do it the same way as we did with the sign up and login screens. I think someone may ask what is the reason to spend time on creating these screens in Adalo if you can just leave a background image. And even if it may look like a smart decision to save up some time, in fact, this can significantly reduce the loading speed of your app, so I highly do not recommend doing this. And even if you compress the background image, it will still take a longer time to load than if you build it with simple Adalo components. So let's create the tiles with emojis and tags, and of course we will start with simple rectangle. And let's go back and change what color we have here. And also let's copy the text. So I will speed up the process of creating our tiles and just show you the result. I think it's not bad, looked nice. And now let's add some text. Unlock the power of AI-powered knowledge. I think it's a weird phrase, to be honest, and I generated it with ChatGPT. Maybe I'll change it later to something more meaningful. Now let's add this button. Once again, let's check if Adalo has this kind of icon. I think, yeah, we have some sort of arrows, but it's not the same, and I think it's gonna be better to just import this error image from our Figma file. So let's add an image component, upload our error, choose don't crop, and change the size a little bit. Perfect. Okay, also we need to add an ellipse as a background for our button. And let's change the color. And let's put our error on the top of the screen. Okay, for this we need to select the error and click on Arrange and just simply click on Bring to Front. And now let's group these two components. The last what we have to do on this screen is just simply to add this element. I would say it more for the design purposes than for real navigational purposes. So let's start as usual with a rectangle. Let's round the corners. And let's add the small dots. Once again, let's change the color. Let's group these components. And let's put it to the right place. And right now, I think we can already delete our background image. And don't forget to change the background color to dark purple. Perfect. Now let's move to the next screen and copy the text component. Save time, reduce stress. Okay. Here's the process of creating these components. It's pretty the same. So let's copy one of our tile and put it to the screen. Let's change the shape of this component and let's add more routing. And let's change the text. Okay, it looks nice, and right now we just need to copy paste it. And let's also change the size. And right now we just need to copy emojis and text from our Figma file, and it's done. Let's also copy these two elements. And let's change the active button. So as you can see, the third screen is almost the same. So I'll just copy paste everything and rearrange the elements a little bit. Basically, our onboarding screens are pretty easy, and it's just text fields and couple of emojis and couple of buttons. And because of it, it's really easy to create it, and it doesn't take a lot of time to recreate it then in Adalo. And this trend of using emojis, I think it's really cool in terms of it still gives you a visual support of your text, but at the same time, it takes less time to find these emojis than if you were using illustrations, for example. I would say that it can really save up a lot of time, but of course, not every project, not every app can replace illustrations or images to emojis, but I think in our case, it's perfectly fine. So everything is ready, and right now we can add some actions. And in this case, we just simply need to add a link actions between the screens. First, let's rename our screens. As I already told you, it's pretty important to do it from the beginning of your development process. Let's click an action and link it to onboarding number 2. And we don't need any transition effect. Same we do for the second button. Let's link it to the onboarding number 3. And now let's link it to sign up screen. And let's add a float up transition. And just to make it a little bit more interactive, let's also add a link action to these little dots. And right now, I want to change the screen navigation type of our first onboarding screen. Because as you can see, right now it's set to home screen. In this case, every time, even if the user already signed up to this application, even if the user already logged into our app, the first thing he will also see is this first onboarding screen. And what do we want in this case? We want to display this onboarding screen as a first screen when the user opens the app, only in the situations when the user is not logging or signed up to the app. So in this case, it makes sense. So let's change the screen navigation type to welcome screen. First screen if the user is not logged in. Done. And as for the home screen, actually we haven't created it yet, so we will set up it later. So we created onboarding screens, login and sign up screens, and let's go to Figma to see what else do we need. Okay, the next is a paywall screen. Right now I will just transfer the design from Figma to Adalo, but I'm not gonna setting up this paywall right now. But of course, we will come back to this later. You're setting up a paywall, connecting it with the service which provides in-app subscription. It takes really a lot of time and attention, and I prefer to cover it in a separate video. I will just quickly create the design in Adalo, and we can move next. So everything is ready, and let's click preview and see the result. Everything looks nice, but I think maybe it's going to be better if we will add labels for input fields. Okay, done. I think it's looked better. So this video turned out to be quite long and detailed, but I think it's quite important to show my typical real process of creating an app from scratch. In particular, to show that the possibilities for creating a variety of design in Adalo are only up to your imagination. In the future, I will speed up the process of creating a design, and we will pay more attention to setting up a database, lists, actions, and so on. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the second part of the video. Bye!